Don't waste your time. In the small, peaceful town of Elmridge, time seemed to move more slowly, like the steady ticking of an old clock. Nestled between green hills and thick forests, Elmridge was a place where life unfolded gently. The seasons changed with soft whispers. The spring brought flowers in every color. Summer warmed the air with a golden embrace. Fall painted the town in rich, warm hues, and winter coated everything with a delicate layer of snow. At the center of this peaceful town was an unassuming little shop named Walter's Timepieces. The weathered sign above the door creaked in the breeze, and the shop itself stood as a testament to craftsmanship and history. Inside the shop, every inch was filled with clocks of all sizes, from grand, towering grandfather clocks that seemed to echo through the shop, to dainty pocket watches glinting under the dim light, to intricate cuckoo clocks that ticked with their own unique rhythm. Each one was a masterpiece in its own right, and all it's made by the hands of Mr. Walter, a clockmaker whose passion for his craft was evident in every piece he created. Mr. Walter was a man of few words, but his hands spoke volumes. Every morning, he would sit at his workbench, and his face illuminated by the soft glow of a desk lamp, and carefully assembling gears, springs, and dials. His shop was his world, a world where time was both a product and a legacy. But despite his success and dedication, there was one thing that weighed heavily on Mr. Walter's heart: his son, Leo. Leo was 19-year-old boy. He was full of potential, but he seemed to squander it with every passing day. He had a bright mind and a sharp wit, but he didn't seem to care about the future. Instead, Leo spent his days drifting, sleeping in late, hanging out with friends, and spending hours staring at his phone. He ignored the time that passed by and didn't seem to notice how quickly it slipped away. Every now and then, Mr. Walter would gently nudge Leo and urging him to think about what he wanted to do with his life. "Leo," he'd say with a soft voice, "you can't keep wasting time. The days will pass you by before you even realize it." But Leo always shrugged it off. "I've got time, Dad. I'm still young. I'll figure it out later," he'd say lazily, and his eyes always distracted by something else. Mr. Walter never gave up hope. He understood that time was something Leo needed to learn to value for himself. The boy was still young, but time was slipping away. And Mr. Walter knew that no matter how much he wished for Leo to understand, it would take something more than words to change him. One evening, as the last light of the day bathed the town in golden hues, Mr. Walter called Leo into the workshop. It was a rare moment of quiet, just the two of them, without any distractions. Leo hesitated for a moment before heading toward the back of the shop. His father's voice had a certain weight tonight, and one that made him pause. Inside the workshop, the familiar scent of wood and metal filled the air. The soft ticking of clocks echoed through the room, like a lullaby that was both calming and unsettling at once. On the workbench, Mr. Walter had something new: a small wooden box, polished and smooth, carved from dark cherry wood. It was simple in design, but elegant. Atop the box sat a clock, a beautiful golden timepiece. It wasn't like any clock Leo had ever seen. It wasn't grand or flashy. It was small, but had a certain timeless elegance about it, as though it belonged to a different era altogether. Leo stared at it for a long moment, unsure of what to make of the gift. "What is this, Dad?" he asked, his voice tinged with confusion. "This clock is for you," Mr. Walter said, his voice steady and calm. I've made it for you, Leo. It's unlike any clock I've ever made before. Leo chuckled lightly and feeling slightly awkward. A clock? Dad? I already have a bunch of them in my room. Mr. Walter's eyes twinkled with a mix of affection and something deeper, a knowing that Leo wouldn't understand yet. This clock is different. It doesn't measure time in the way you're used to. It measures your time. Leo blinked and his confusion growing. My time? What do you mean? Time is time, right? Mr. Walter nodded slowly, and his gaze never leaving Leo's face. This clock doesn't measure the world's time, Leo. It measures your time, how much time you have left. It counts down, tick by tick. Leo furrowed his brow, unsure of what his father meant. I don't get it, Dad. Why would you give me something like that? Mr. Walter smiled softly, his voice carrying a quiet but firm wisdom. Because, Leo, time doesn't wait for anyone. And one day, you'll understand what I mean. Just keep it with you and watch it. The next morning, Leo woke up late, as he always did. He rubbed his eyes, groaning as the sunlight streamed through the window. His phone buzzed with notifications, and he instinctively reached for it. But then, his eyes fell on the small golden clock his father had given him, sitting on his nightstand. He picked it up and examined it, but still not sure what to make of it. The clock had a smooth, almost hypnotic tick to it, but something else was different this time. Instead of ticking forward as a normal clock would, it seemed to be counting down. The numbers on the face started at 20,000 hours. Leo's first reaction was to laugh. Dad, this is crazy, he muttered to himself, and shaking the clock as though it was malfunctioning. But when he looked again, and the number had dropped, it was now at 19,999 hours. Slowly but surely, the clock was ticking backward. Leo was confused, and he placed the clock back on his nightstand and shrugged it off. Maybe it was a quirky thing his father had made. Just another one of those odd inventions that didn't make sense. But as the days went by, the numbers continued to drop. 19,950, 19,900, 19,800. The ticking became louder in his ears, echoing in his mind and pulling at his thoughts. For the first time, Leo couldn't ignore it. Something inside him began to stir. Every glance at the clock reminded him of the hours slipping away. The simple and steady ticking was like a constant reminder that time was fleeting. That evening, as Leo sat in his room, lost in his thoughts, the clock's numbers had dropped to 18,432 hours. He felt a lump form in his throat. For the first time, he wasn't just looking at a timepiece. He was looking at his life. What have I been doing with my life? He thought. He had wasted so much time. In sleeping, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, hanging out with friends, doing things that felt urgent but weren't meaningful in the long run. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Time, the thing he had always taken for granted, and it was slipping away. And the more he thought about it, the more it felt like he had lost control. I need to change, Leo thought urgently. I can't keep living like this. My time is running out. He stood up from his chair and his heart pounding in his chest. The clock ticked quietly in the background, a sound that now seemed so loud, so powerful. He glanced at the numbers again. 18,400, 18,300. With each tick, his sense of urgency grew. That night, Leo couldn't sleep. He kept tossing and turning. His mind was racing. What will I do with my time? The next morning, Leo woke up early, a rarity for him. The sun hadn't even risen yet, and there he was, sitting up in bed and feeling a strange but undeniable sense of purpose. He took a deep breath and made a decision. I'm going to make today count. Leo spent the morning doing things he had never done before. He made his bed, cleaned his room, and then walked downstairs to cook breakfast for himself. He made eggs and toast, something simple, but it felt good. He even cleaned up afterward, a small act, but it was a sign of the change inside him. After breakfast, he walked into the workshop, where his father was busy working on a new project. "Dad," Leo said, his voice more confident than it had been in a long time. "Can I help you today?" Mr. Walter looked up from his workbench, and his face lighting up with a smile. "Of course, Leo. I'd love for you to help." As they worked side by side, Leo found himself becoming more engaged. His hands moved with purpose as they worked together on the intricate clock. For the first time in a long time, Leo felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. Time, which he had once wasted, was now being used to create something beautiful. Later, as Leo checked the clock his father had given him, he saw something new. The number had gone up. It was small, 18,500 hours, but it was enough to make him feel a sense of progress and of hope. As the weeks passed, Leo's transformation became evident. He woke up early every morning, eager to start his day. He read books, worked on new projects, and helped his father with the shop. He was no longer wasting his time. Each moment felt like an investment in his future. One afternoon, Leo walked into the workshop, looked at his father, and said, "Dad, I think I get it now. Time isn't something I can afford to waste." Mr. Walter smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "I've always known you'd figure it out. It just took you seeing it for yourself." Leo smiled back, and his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you for the clock, Dad. It was the wake-up call I needed." As he looked at the clock once again, he felt a new sense of purpose. Time, precious and fleeting, was now something he would cherish, every tick bringing him closer to becoming the person he was meant to be. And as the clock's steady tick echoed through the room, Leo knew that he would never waste another moment. The moral of the story is that time is life. It's the one thing you can never get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. The moments you waste today are lost forever. But if you choose to spend your time wisely, you're not just passing the hours. You're creating a life worth living. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start now, because every second counts. Your future self is watching you and hoping you'll make the most of every moment. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more heart-touching, real-life inspired tales, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. Your support means the world, and I'll see you in the next one.